What is going on, YouTube? What's going on, guys? Welcome to another call on Tyrone. I'm here with my guy Tommy. How you doing tonight, Tommy?
Great. And how's it going?
Going good, going good. Going to talk about the Hawks first, but like I said, let's talk about the title. It's the most exciting time in Atlanta. Why do I say it's the most exciting time in Atlanta? Well, you see what jacket and hat Tommy has on. Both teams are playing right now. And these are I can't say that because of the Braves. I would say they were our most popular teams, but the Braves kind of just rule everything. So two of our I'll say top five teams, in the state are in battle right now. I mean, the season just started for the Hawks, and the Falcons are in week 7. So we're gonna talk about the Hawks first because, like I said, season just started. Um, for me, I don't see that a lot of people are like having concerns, and I've seen people like tonight. A lot of people tonight's game was stressful. I will say that tonight's
Uh,
game was what we should have not been, because it's something about when we play Detroit every year. I don't know what they do. I don't know why it always comes down to a John Collins block, but some way somehow it comes down to a John Collins block and we win the game, or we go into overtime. Like last year, John Collins had the game-winning block. Like it's something with Detroit where we can have a game-winning streak and then we'll play Detroit and we'll just lose. Like I don't, I'll never understand it. Um,
and we got to
so
play him again on Friday.
I know, which is nuts. So
Weird.
yeah, I mean, the NBA's been on. We've been had weird schedules since the COVID year. I don't think they've never had a really good schedule since the COVID year. But it's weird to me. Like I don't see the concern yet. I don't. I mean, Justin's had some. We've had some shaky play, but I don't see the rush and concern that a lot of people are seeing. Especially with the bench, I think the bench still needs time because you still got both Holiday brothers. You still don't know what they're. I mean, we know defensively they're going to play really good defense, but their offensive games can be shaky. They're not their brother. Let's be honest. They're just not there. They're not Drew. So you have to equate for that. Like you have to account for it. Like you got to be like, okay, we know we're not getting Drew Holiday, but we're getting two guys that play really good defense and can pop a 3 for us. We got Jalen coming off the bench, which I'm really happy. I'm happy about that because we didn't get to see a lot of him last year, but this year, like we're going to see a lot more of him. So you get a lot of more. We didn't go and get a backup center in free agency. We got Frank, but Frank's down to third string. Like has solidified as himself as that backup. So we have a really good rotation. It's just we have to. It's more of adjustments. I think that's going to come later into the season. So for you, what is your take? What's your takes on the beginning of the season?
They've had shaky moments where I think last season where they would look really good for 10 minutes and then all of a sudden it would turn off, and it would even be with, your starters out there. I mean, we've played lottery teams and we've, mostly taken care of business. Sunday's game was just bad. I think there was at one point early in the game the Hawks went on like in a 17-2 run, and I was like, okay, this game's over. Like we're gonna win this. It's gonna be easy, and they just shut off. And today, in the third quarter, was another one where they shut it off at points, and it's frustrating because you know that they can, if they could put a whole game together, they're gonna win easy. But we haven't seen a complete game from them. I would say, if you wanted to say what was the most complete game, I would say it was game one against the Rockets. Early on, Trey looked. I know Trey was still sick, so that was one of his main. He just was not Trey Young that game. But everybody played well. Murray played great defense that game, and he's still been pretty good defensively throughout the season. But the rest of the team is still struggling with the defense. And I think that's what we were sold on in the offseason. Like, this team is going to play defense, and it's just not together yet. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things that everybody knew was going to happen. It was going to take a while, especially for the bench to really gel together. So I don't know. I'm not that worried about it at all, but there are going to be some games, I think, in October and November where we're going to say, what the hell's going on, because they're still just trying to gel.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Um, I think when we get, like you said, when we get into the tougher stretch of games, which we're going to get into a tougher stretch coming pretty soon. That away game stretch, we're gonna learn a lot. We're gonna learn a lot about this team and a lot about the heart that they have. Um, because it's gonna be hard. I mean, what like with one thing about this team, we haven't seen this team before. We can't say like, oh, going off of last season, like, oh yeah, we know that they'll do this, and like this is not the same team. This is not the team that we've had these last 2 years. This is not the Eastern Conference Finals team. We didn't we don't have a, like a it's weird to me, for me, like, because we were like, everyone's like, okay, we got a team, we got a squad, we're gonna build, and then DeJounte Murray's on the block. Oh, well, we need to go get DeJounte if he's on the block. And then we go and get DeJounte. And then we give up only Gallinari and some picks, and it's still like, oh, we didn't give up a lot. And we're not gonna be a rebuilding team for a while, so those picks really don't matter, right? And then you go into what Travis Slink has been doing, and like he goes and gets draft capital back. Really and truly, he went and got draft capital back when he goes and trades other people, and he trades Kevin away, and he goes gets two other players. And yeah, the Kevin trade is still
Red
it
Velvet,
hurts.
man, I loved him.
It hurts so much. I think it hurts everybody. Like it's just like, dang man, why? But you got, I mean, you kind of I don't think you kind of you didn't replace him per se, but you got a better two guard in DeJounte. So you have a better starting two guard. I will say that. You have more help next to Trey. You have better help next to Trey, because I don't think that Trey, I mean, Trey and Kevin were perfect. We love that backcourt. Everybody loves that backcourt. But that backcourt defensively was not what it needed to be. That backcourt was bad defensively. And we had to realize, you got to look at it and see it. Like, it was a bad backcourt. And DJ, like, bro, he had fives, like, he's had multiple steal games, and it's just like, oh, he's just a menace. Like, he's just a menace at what he does. Like, in his offensive game, like tonight, he didn't score a lot. I think he had 15. I think he had 14 or 15. And he still had 8 rebounds and 8 assists.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy numbers. That's still, he's 2 rebounds and 2 assists away from a triple double. So you gotta really realize he's giving you a lot more than what Kevin could give you. And that's not a dig at Kevin. That's just what talent. I mean, that's just basketball, like what we've seen on this team already. So the game versus Charlotte, I feel like we just kind of just gave up. Like, I don't know if we were gassed. I can't even say we were gassed. Like, it's like we just gave up mid game. It was just like, all right, we were up 7, like you said, we were up like huge. And it was just like, well, we're up big. And that's what a lot of people, and that's a concern. I still think that's a concern, because it's been 3 years straight we've been doing that. That's a concern. I don't like
That's on the
that.
coaching staff though too, I think. Like
Yeah,
that's
it really
that's
is.
going to keep people in the game because sorry to interrupt you, but like when I was listening to Jukes and Bell the past couple of days, they've been like posting the audio, and it had Murray saying like we gave up, we overestimated them, and they just didn't do well, and they gave up, and then Trey was like we didn't give up. He's like, at least I didn't give up, and they kept playing it over and over, and I don't know, it's a young team at the time, so I'm not overly worried about this, but coaching staff is something that's still in my mind. Like, I don't know, I still have some concerns about it.
At the point of, I like that DeJounte's taking accountability, but at the same time, I feel like those guys, if a team has given up, then the team is giving up. And you can say, well, the player didn't give up. Like, because Trey didn't give up that game. He kept trying to get us back in that game. He kept trying to dig us out the hole that we had. And you want to, I don't, like I said, you don't want to just be like, oh man, we gotta rely on Trey, and we gotta rely on DJ every game we're gonna have to rely on those two. You don't want that. And that's why I'm happy we've been getting John involved. John was a top scorer on the team. He's been a top scorer every night.
Yeah, he's
Clint
been
wasn't
great.
even the top scorer tonight, but the defense, and this is what I say. when everybody likes to attack Clint so much and so badly, Clint is a really good rim protector. Clint does things around the rim that saves us a lot of games. What he did when he blocked that shot tonight versus Cade, that was a really big play. And I promise you, I was like, yeah, I was like, that's really good defense. And Cade would just put his arms up because he was like, that's a foul. I was like, no, it wasn't. That was all ball. Like, it was all ball, and he was straight up. And that's what Clint gives you. He gives you a big, he can act, and a lot of people was like, oh, he can't guard the perimeter. He can go out there and at least stand in front of the person. One thing he did with Embiid liked to play on the perimeter, but he was at least in front of Embiid most of the time. He might get beat, but he's at least gonna be there, and he might still block you if he can get his hand around there. So he's still a really good center. He's a really serviceable center, and he really clicks with Trey, and that's kind of what I like. Him and Trey and John, those three have a really good connection. I think he's building it with DeJounte. And of course, him and Dre don't interact as much because they're usually on offense. They don't interact as much, but when they do, that you can see that Clint is kind of just that paint guy. Like if we can see Clint open in the paint, we're gonna give Clint the ball. Everybody's gonna give him the ball as long as if he has a mismatch, we're gonna give him the ball.
Agreed.
And we go in and I say, okay, we talked about Trey, we talked about Clint, we really touched most of the team. So we didn't do our expectation show before the season. So let's talk about that. What are your expectations for the season? Because for the players, I know it's championship or bust, but realization wise, which I say we can do it. I feel like we can, but it's gonna take some more. I feel like that Charlotte game made me doubt it a little bit. But for you, what is your expectations? Like, what is your your real realistic? What do you think we can do?
I think a second round of the playoffs is minimum at this point. I think you have to get to the second round. You have to avoid the play in. So you don't want to you don't want to get into that whole situation again. But the East has gotten better. But you look at specifically, I live in Cleveland, so I'm watching what's going on with the Cavs and Mitchell, and he's just had a fantastic start to his career with Cleveland. I think the Cleveland and Atlanta are the up and coming teams that are going to be there for a long time. And for this first year team of them all together, I mean, who knows what happens at the deadline, but we're already seeing that Collins is being better than what he was before, even with that nasty finger that he's got. Um, I'm hopeful that they're gonna be able to at least get to that second round. After that, who knows what happens in the playoffs? You run into teams that aren't healthy. I think we saw that a couple of years ago, where the Hawks were running into teams that just weren't at 100%, and they were taking advantage of it. But this season, they have to look like a team throughout the entire year that is competitive, and I think that's been the problem. Like last year, it wasn't just COVID, it was injuries. And then even when they were finally starting to get healthy, especially at some of the games at the end of the season, they just didn't look like they wanted to be there. And that's when I started questioning the coaching staff a little bit, saying, what are they doing? How are they not keeping these guys motivated? So, and then obviously there was, we didn't see Jalen last year. We were all just begging to see Jalen, and he barely got any time, despite everybody being out with COVID and injuries. Like, just did not get game time. So far, I've liked what I've seen from him. It hasn't been fantastic. He seems like he's afraid to shoot the ball at times, but I think that the confidence level will start coming. But he's a foul machine. People love to foul him.
Yeah, I mean, one thing about it, and this is what I say, and this is what when he was coming out of college, a lot of people kind of didn't like the comparison, but he was compared to Ben, and everybody was like, "Oh man, I don't know if we want Ben Simmons on the team." And I said one thing that Ben does a lot, and one thing that Ben's good at is he's gonna get you. Somebody's gonna foul him. Somebody's gonna foul because Ben what he always Ben does. He can't shoot, so what he's gonna do is drive to the paint, and 9 times out of 10 they're gonna get fouled. And I think Jalen had a really good some G League last year, which a lot of people, if you didn't follow it, he had I mean, he could have been almost been G League MVP with what the numbers he was putting up.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh well, that's G League competition. Those guys are trying to be NBA players too. That's not like a bad thing. Those guys are drafted players and they're undrafted. They were still really high level college players. And there's some NBA players, some guys that's been in the NBA down there that just haven't got a shot with teams. So it's a lot of mixed talent down there. It's not like it's just bad talent. Like it's just, a whole bunch of nobodies playing. These are guys that earn spots to play on these teams. And these are, he was putting up like 40 points a game on just efficient shooting and dunks and layups and just getting to his spots. And I need that to transition to this game. And you can see it a little bit. You saw it a little bit in preseason when he got hot, and you were like, "Oh, JJ's hot," and you were like, "Okay, he got." You can see it in flashes. I need to be more consistent because off of the bench, you got to have that JC replacement. And if JC, what we know how much refs love to give JC fouls. Let's say JC's at 4 or 5, and it's late fourth quarter, and he gets the last one. He's like DeAndre last tonight, like he just gets his last one. He fouls out. We got to put JJ in there, and he's gonna have to play with the starters, and he's gonna have to show out and have to replace that role of John Collins. And if he can't show you that, then that's a problem. And he's gonna have to develop that. And I think he has it in him because I've seen him, and you can see it. You can see that he has the God given talent. You just don't want him to end up like Cam Reddish. That's what you don't want. You don't want the Cam Reddish effect,
Is Cam
where
Reddish
it's
still alive?
yeah, I mean, he had a good game. I think he had a good first game with New York, and then I don't know what happened to him. He had like 21 his first game, and then disappeared again. So he's like Romeo Langford at this point. Like, is he
Uh,
alive? He got drafted. We haven't seen him. You know. So I think
okay.
it's just it's a touchy subject. I mean, we just got to develop. I can't give us what I want to give us. I can't say we're an Eastern Conference Final bound team till I see we really want to win, really and truly. That
I
Charlotte
want to
game
see
gave
this
me,
guy right here.
yeah,
That's what I want to
yeah.
see.
I really want to see AJ too. I do. AJ has. I mean, he's a really good spot up shooter. It's a weird shot. It's a weird shot. I will say that it is a weird shot because I've watched his form and I was like, he shoots very wide. Like his legs are usually like very wide when he shoots, but it goes in most times. So I mean, he's comfortable with it and he's really tall. So it's kind of just what he how he shoots. He shoots like a big man, but it goes in every time. So I think we have to. I want to say, like you said, it's second. We're really a second round playoff team. Now we don't know what will happen, but that first round, if we're at least a fourth, I'll say okay, if we're top four, we got to beat our first matchup. It ought to
Mhm.
like we have to beat our first matchup. It's simple as that. Like you can't go into that matchup and sleep on them. It's a playoff team, which I would really want us. I really think we can make another Eastern Conference Finals run with this team, with the team right now, because we still haven't seen like Frank's still hurt, Bogey's still hurt, so we haven't seen those two. You still got Vit, and Vit is my weapon X. A lot of people don't really like. People didn't like watch Vit in preseason. Like, oh, he'll be on the G League team, and then he wasn't. He didn't even go to the G League training camp, and everybody was like, oh, wait, he's on the main roster, and it was like, oh, so he's good. And then Vit is a weapon X. Vit is really, really like a two guard, but he's too tall to be a two guard. He's one of those European players that's like really big, but they play guard so much that they know how to play guard and be a power forward at the same time. And that's kind of what I want to see him play. I just want to see him play. I don't think we're gonna. I don't know when we're gonna see it, but we might see it. And I think the flashes he's gonna give us, and if he can get consistent, like we get him consistent play time, and we get better flashes from our bench, then we're gonna be straight. I think our bench can help us a lot because we know what our starting lineup can do. It's really relying on that bench play for me. I think that's really what we have to rely because last year, it was a nightmare to have our bench in there. It really was till what's his name? Till he got right. Who was our saving grace? I can't even think of his name. DeLon. Till DeLon Wright got really
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Delon was was something last year. He
Yeah,
was
till Delon got to his prime form with the Hawks, our bench was like atrocious. Like we had to have Trey on the court. And that's kind of why I like the rotation now where you can have Trey on the court, let him rest, then put DJ back out there. You know, you can rotate those two guys. And those are the two primary ball handlers. So, you know, it gives you some more leeway with how you want to rotate people, especially Trey, because you don't want Trey worn out every game, which he was last year. You could see it. By the time we got to the playoffs, Trey was gassed because he had a really tough that 8 game stretch where we had to win so many games to make the playoffs, to make the play in, and then make the play in, and then have to go to play Miami first round. It wasn't the best thing. It wasn't because they played. You can tell how they played him. They just beat him up the whole series.
that Cleveland game. I mean, that was like his game. Like that
Yeah,
playing game. I was
that was
there.
his
It was
Jordan. That was his Jordan, his Kobe, whatever you want to call it. That was his moment right there. That Cleveland game was crazy. Like that was one of his like you can be like, yeah, that was the Trey Young was nuts. That guard, it was like the Garden game. Like, yeah, it was like, yo, Trey Young went nuts in the Garden. And you be like, Trey Young went nuts in Quicken Loans Arena. Like, it's like crazy. Like he has some
he
crazy.
bowed too. He bowed to the fans and waved him goodbye. And
Yeah, he did. He bowed. Like that's just his go. It's his go. It's like Reggie Miller's like his little choke sign. He did this to what's his name on the sideline. That's kind of like his go to evil move.
that's his
That's just what
playoff.
it
That's
is.
his playoff mode when he gets that win.
Yeah, when he gets that win and it's on the road, he's definitely gonna give you a bow. But let's go
For
ahead. We're
sure.
gonna go ahead and switch it over to the other people that play down the street in Mercedes Benz. The Atlanta Falcons. 3-4 on the season. Really bad game versus the Bengals, which I count as a bad game because I mean injuries happen. It Joe Burrow put up a game worth of stats in the first half. And even with injuries, that's horrible. I mean, that's absolutely horrible. I can't even give you like, oh well, we were hurt, so it was a bad game, so we can just count the injuries. That giving him 400, almost 500 yards in a game is still inexcusable, no matter how you put it. Like
It was
it's
miserable.
just simply
It's just terrible.
inexcusable. Like I can't even give you I can't even be like, oh yeah, like okay, it was just a little fluke game. AJ got hurt. We didn't have Casey. No, you gave up 500 yards on every spot of the field, linebackers and cornerbacks included. We just gave up yards, and I mean, I think that was probably the easiest game Joe Mixon had to play since college. Like he didn't have to do nothing. So Mixon just sat in the, he just sat, or he could have sat on the sideline all game because they could have just ran shotgun and just burned us down the field because that's just how it was bad. Like I couldn't, you can't even say it any other way. It was just bad. It was just straight up bad. So, but like I said something on Mike's show and I'll say it again on here. There's no team besides the Giants in Seattle playing this weekend that has a winning record. So we're not behind at all. It's not like we getting, it's not like we just at the bottom tier of the league. Nobody's good right now.
No,
It's like it's nobody's good. Nobody's separated themselves yet. Everybody's had bad losses. Everybody's had good wins. The Falcons had really two. We've had three really good wins. The Seattle game was a good win. The Browns game was a really good win, and the San Francisco game put us on national notice because
yeah,
we just whipped them. Like it was just a beating. Like we just dominated them.
we played our game. I mean that when we're
Yeah,
able to play our game, that's when things work. When we get if these corners weren't hurt, if we had all of our corners, this game would have been closer. But when it's down, I'm still worried of the coaching staff being able to say we're going to have to step away from it and get to passing more. And I mean, we had that huge pass to the other Boyd, right?
yeah,
And
Bird, yeah.
yeah, or yeah, and like that was like okay, that's great. But it's the third and fourth quarter, and we're still barely throwing the ball, and Are we ever going to let Mariota cook? Is that a thing? Like I don't know. It's I feel like
See, yeah,
they were
you're an Oregon fan, so you've seen it firsthand. So yeah, you know the legend of Marcus Mariota. Like,
yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it since then. Since that Ohio State national championship game that he lost, I haven't really seen a fantastic Mariota. But like I thought it was a moment where we could at least see what he had, and we really didn't get much of that. And my only worry about this whole Mariota thing, and I think that everybody understands the situation that the Falcons are in right now, is when do Pitts and London get frustrated? Because they're two first round picks. They obviously have a ton of talent. I understand what they're trying to do here. They're trying to, have a run game, have an old school. We're going to run them out and control the ball. But when do these guys get frustrated because they're not getting Unicorn's not getting his passes? London's new. I mean, he's one of the highest rated rookies right now. But I'm sure they want to get some play here soon.
so it was funny you touched on that because Tori wrote an article on it. It was Zacchaeus and Pitts, and they asked them like, "Hey, so y'all being receivers, y'all not getting, you're not getting the ball as much. How do you feel?" And Drake had a really mature response to it, and I think that's really a reason. And that's one thing I like about every rookie we've kind of brought in. They've been very mature about and very, they been very much trust the process because we could have. I mean, like we've had guys that we drafted guys like Richie Grant was a second round pick. You expect your second round pick to play, and he came in and had to earn his spot. Which a lot of guys second round picks, they went came in and automatically started.
Yeah,
So it's there. We have a very we drafted a lot of mature guys, and and something that stuck out about me what Drake said was I understand what we're doing and I understand why we're doing it. And when he said the thing about it is I'm still a rookie and I'm still learning the game. And that was a very mature response because if he was like Julio or Devontae Adams and they were stuck in the offense like this, that we know how they would have probably responded. They'd be like, oh well, I want my touches, I want my targets. But because he's young and he knows more than we do. Let's put it like that. He knows the offense a lot more than we do. He knows what they had planned up for him. And Arthur Smith made a point of saying, I'm not, he said, it's not like I'm not trying to throw them the ball. They had plays drawn up for them. They got double bracket. Kyle Pitts is getting triple team, quadruple
yeah,
team sometimes. You got Drake now, and now Drake has become a threat because his first 4 games, he had like over 300 yards. And they were like, oh, we gotta pay attention to him now. And so now he's getting double teamed, and now you're double teaming both of them, and that's why you see Zacchaeus so open. That's why you see Bird get over the top the way he did because the safety was so worried about Pitts that Bird's wide open over the top.
yeah.
So it's a thing where we have to. And I'll put it like this: it's about creativity, and Arthur is getting more and more. You can see it getting his playbook getting deeper because some of the run plays we run have been exotic. Like the blocking on them has been really exotic, and I'm just like, whoa. I like the San Francisco game. I don't think we cut block once. And then they started playing a little, they started playing a little, chippy. And then we just started seeing bodies flop up front. And I was like, okay, Arthur, I see how you playing. And, that's why you need Edwards to just do something.
Is Edwards alive? Like I saw the comment from him, and I think it was like 2 weeks ago. And I think when I don't even think he was dressed, and they just said he's like, I'm not really even sure why I'm not playing.
Yeah,
And yeah, I don't know. I,
yeah.
I was I was I was expecting something from him. Being the number two guy, and yeah, there's no number two for him.
Well, I mean, now he's not even the number 2 guy because it's
Yeah,
now. Then it's so funny because now the roster goes this week. It goes wide receiver 1 is Drake. Wide receiver 2 is Zacchaeus, and wide receiver 3 is Nakadero Hodge. So now he's actually dropped to number 4. So now he's wide receiver number 4 on the roster.
in this offense,
And
you shouldn't just even show up on Sunday if you're the number four.
and you know what I think it is, and Arthur learned, and this is, and we were talking about this. We talked about this in the chat. Is we didn't have enough speed on the field with him. We had a lot of physical guys on the field. And one thing that kind of messed up, and you kind of saw it the first couple of weeks, where you got five big guys out there, or you got to think CP's not a small guy. You got CP, Pitts, London, and Edwards. Those are four really big wide receivers. Now they're all very quick, but they're not very fast. They're not burners. Now
Yeah.
you bring Zacchaeus in. Zacchaeus' whole career has been, even when Matt was here, was I'm gonna run straight down the field and you can't catch me. So, and then when you bring in Bird, what Bird gives you, you can't catch me. I'm gonna fly. Look, I'll make it real catchy. I'm gonna fly like a bird down the field. So, you know, we had to get more speed. We didn't have enough speed in my eyes, and so when you added those two, you added more speed to it, and so yeah, it goes London, OZ, Hodge, and maybe Bird. Yeah, I at that point, yeah, I think it is Hodge and Bird. I think it is Hodge Bird. So Edwards might be 5 now. I think he's dropped completely. Like for him to go from number 2 to number 5 is nuts. But like I say, he's still a special weapon. No matter how we want to put it, we got him for a reason. He is 6, was he 6'6" or something like that? Like he's still a very big target. So we can still use him in jumbo sets if you still have a lot of opportunities to use him goal line. We're gonna have to use big wide receivers at some point, and the way we run the ball, he's gonna get a lot of burn anyway because those guys, Zacchaeus and those guys aren't the best run blockers. So he's gonna get a lot more burn the more we run the ball, and he's still a threat on the field. No matter even if he's wide receiver 1 or 4, he's still a threat no matter what because he's still a very big target. And Mariota can throw a ball somewhere and you can go up and get it. It might not be as accurate, but it's gonna be in your vicinity for you to grab it. So he's gotta just it's gotta be a thing where he has to I put it like he just has to. I don't even know. He's kind of just fell off. I wouldn't say fall off, but
He got
he
injured in
didn't
the
fit the offense.
preseason.
He doesn't fit the offense right now for what we're doing. I'll put it like that.
I think it definitely hurt him getting hurt in the preseason. I think
Yeah.
that took him a step down, and he just really hasn't recovered from it.
I mean, I don't feel like he probably couldn't. I mean, you got to think it's a hard, like I said, it's a hard. You get hurt preseason, you lose a lot of time. Cam Newton said something like he got hurt with the Patriots the COVID year, and he said when he came back by like week 6, he didn't even know what they were calling. Like they had changed the calls and everything. So you got to think he missed a good amount of time being hurt. So he might not even know. He might not even know. It might not even be the fact of he dropped that low, and it might not even be the fact of speed, but it might just be the fact of he missed some time, and he doesn't have the same offensive playbook. He might not even know what we calling out there. It might just be that bad, and that's another thing and that brings me to the Ritter and Mariota debate. We can't You can't throw a guy out there, and we talked about it tonight with this kind of connects a lot of topics in one. We talked about it'll go into Matt Ryan as well.
Oh
You
boy.
can't kind of take a guy out the locker room that everybody loves. The thing is, and we see it, where now the organization as players are not happy with what they just did in Indianapolis. And the players are mad. And one thing that we've heard all season and all off season is that everybody on this team loves Mariota. Everybody loves the leadership that Mariota brings. He is one of the hardest workers on this team. And one thing that you're gonna do, and it's so, and I understand. Look, Ritter is the better quarterback. I will give you that. Ritter is the better quarterback. But one thing you don't do is take away momentum and take away team chemistry, because team chemistry is very big. We can go on a 3-1 stretch right here and be 6-4, And might we look, we could be number one in the way that Tampa Bay looks. We could be number one, sole number one in the division, especially if we sweep Tampa. I mean, not sweep Tampa, but sweep Carolina. We
And
could
you have
literally be.
to.
We gotta sweep. It's bound to happen. What Carolina's going through right now is a I'd say it is a they don't have a pot to piss in right now. Let's put it like that. Like they kind of just it's bad. It's horrible. Like they're stuck in a bad place right now.
I mean, my only worry is that, you know, he's got the franchise QB voice. He sounds like Mahomes a little bit.
Yeah,
But y- y- the corners still scare me.
yeah,
And that's my worry is that, you know, you might have to keep up. And I think that our run game is going to be fine. That really hasn't taken much of a hit, but you're still going to need to pass the ball. And I still want to see Mariota be able to bring that ball back. When I was in town for the Browns game, and it was just, you know, at that point, I think Mariota threw the interception, and then they came back and ran the ball, you know, 17 times in a row or whatever it
yeah. It
was.
was like 17 or something like that. Yeah,
And I'm like all the way up at the top, and I'm like, I'm surrounded by Browns fans. We came in for my 40th birthday, so I had 17 Browns fans with me, and the upper area is just full of Browns, and I'm just screaming, "Don't throw the ball! Don't throw the ball!" Like I just didn't trust him. But there's going to be a time during, you know, these next 3-4 games where Mariota is going to have to throw to keep us in a game, or, you know, come back and bring back a victory while we're down. And I'm still a little worried, and I got to see it.
yeah. I think and to touch on, because y'all know I'm gonna do it every show. To touch on our O line. So Mariota has the least. This is a kicker for you. Mariota has the least pass attempts. Guess how times Mariota's been sacked? 24 times. He's getting sacked at a rate that you would think he's throwing the ball like Matt Ryan was throwing in Indianapolis, like 40, 50 times a game. That's how much he's getting sacked. Bro, he's gotten sacked more than Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan's been sacked 24 times. He's been sacked 26. He has 26 sacks. And some of that is on him. I will give Mariota his I will give Mary I'm gonna pat him on his butt and give him a little spanking. He doesn't get the ball off quick enough. Now, that can go on the receivers, which we said last year with Matt Sacks, where our receivers weren't getting open. Now, I can't say it's the receivers not getting open because I have to see the all 22 film from above, see it from up top. But the thing is, he has I think he's like 20th in release or 21st in releases in the NFL. Dude, you can't hold the ball that long. One thing about it, you get trained as an old lineman. 1, 2, 3, 4 is long. Five is the limit. You get 5 seconds as a quarterback. Five is your limit. Because after 5 seconds, look. I've been in a dog fight, and I'm tired. It's two. We both 300-pound men going at each other for 5 seconds. That's a lot of waiting for us. And by the time that 5 seconds is over, if he beat me, he just beat me. And if you're Mariota, you have legs. You're healthy this year. You can't be scared to use your legs. I don't want you to get hit, but if you can get to the outside and run that sideline enough to where you can step out when you need to step out, then that's when you need to do.
Yeah,
If you
not
gotta
fumble it, not
just don't
fumble the
fumble it
ball.
or slide. Really and truly slide. One thing he's never and I don't even remember him sliding in Oregon a lot. I
He
just
didn't have
remember
to.
he didn't. He usually just had wide open lanes. Yeah, he had like 50, 60-yard runs that was just wide open.
I think the
So
game's too fast for him at the moment. I think that he hasn't really had to consistently play for a couple years, and it's just he just can't make the decisions, and he's just getting hit.
he's gotta get quick, and that's why I say it's some rust. I think he's really just it's a lot of him just not playing. He hasn't played in 2 years. Like he just hasn't started. So I mean he hasn't just been sitting there. And I won't go that far and say he can't read defenses, Michael, because we've seen him been able to do it. He's been able to read. I mean he's been okay at reading. I think it's he trusts Arthur's offense, I think he's still in a he's comfortable in it, but he still has game rust. He's comfortable in the system. He knows the system. It's just in-game rust. He just hasn't played NFL football in a very long time. And when he did play, he was running the ball most of the time. So, it comes to a point where he has to just get back to playing NFL football. And he's in week 8 now. So now it's time to really get clicking. And we'll talk about Carolina a little bit. They had a good win this Sunday. They whipped up on Tom Brady, which was good for us because that to kept the division close. But Carolina is not a scary team, but we don't overlook Carolina. I'll say this. As a team, we cannot look over Carolina because over what we know, that whole horrible carousel of coach and players and all of that's going on right now, and quarterbacks, and both your quarterbacks hurt and all of that. We're not going to go and just overlook them, but we're going to say that we should win this game, especially at home. Especially at home. Now,
Yep.
PJ Walker is a threat because he can run and throw. I will say PJ Walker has impressed me these last couple of years when he's actually been able to play. Because it was so funny because he impressed me in the XFL before it shut down, and then he got a shot with Carolina. Then when he got back to Carolina, he impressed me. I was like, oh yeah, he's actually that good. So it's not like he's not a bad quarterback. We just got to be able. One thing about it, AJ didn't practice today, and that scares me. It is Wednesday. This is when we start practicing, and
Who
AJ
didn't?
didn't practice today. D.
Terrell?
Alfred did practice today, so we will have him back. We have Mike Ford back. All the other corners that were hurt throughout the game are practicing today, but we didn't get AJ back, so we
He's
don't. I
not
mean, we'll
playing.
probably have. Well, I probably was. I guess we'll have Harmon and D. Alfred out there starting, hopefully, unless AJ comes back. AJ's on the depth chart. Y'all will say that AJ is still on the depth chart, so it's not like he's not ruled out for the game, but he did not practice. He probably that hamstring stuff. It's a you don't want him to pop it. That's what we don't want. And he keeps straining it, and I don't want him to get out there one game and then he actually pops it
You
because it's
can't
been
play
strained
him.
so much.
You can't play him.
No, not this week. Not
No.
this week. I'll say wait till we play the Chargers if necessary. Give him a week of rest because last week was very scary, and then him getting to Cincinnati and getting hurt, that was not good. It
No.
wasn't, and you don't want him to be lingering. You don't want this lingering injury on him all season because then we'll get to the off season, and then he has to have some type of surgery or he has to have some type of something that's gonna keep him out the first couple weeks of the training camp or
Yeah.
something like that. Like you don't want that. You want him to be healthy enough to where this off season it's just rehabbing for the next season. You want him rehabbing and training. You don't want him to actually have to go and get surgery and get something. Actually have to get something tweaked because this is Cordero. Cordero, correct me if I'm wrong. Cordero he didn't get a surgery this offseason, or did he?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did. I remember he was resting. They just rested him all off season. He didn't really play as much, and he just rested most off season. And he still ended up having to get a surgery.
I mean,
So
the guy runs hard. I mean,
he
that's
runs real
all.
hard. That's the thing about it. That's what scares me about Chubb. That's always scared me about Chubb since he's been at Georgia. He runs so hard. He's gonna make. I've watched Gurley do it too many years. I think that's probably my thing. I watched Todd Gurley do it so many years at Georgia, run so hard, and then I saw that one move and ruined my whole hopes and aspirations of Todd Gurley. So, it scares me because he's so old and he's older. Like somebody put a tweet out and it was so funny because it was like it's funny that it took Cordero. He's been in the league like 12, like 10, like he's been in the league so long. It took him this long, and to get with the Falcons to realize he should be playing running back. Like it's stuff like that where I still want him to break the record in the Falcons uniform. Like, Devin Hester broke it in the Falcons uniform. I would love to see Cordell break it in the Falcons uniform. Like, it's stuff like that I want to see him do, and hopefully he'll be back healthier. It was supposed to be a minor knee surgery. It wasn't nothing serious. Those scare me. Anything with the knee scares me because we've seen guys have minor knee surgeries and be gone DeAndre Hunter, be gone for
Joseph
a whole
Martinez.
season, and come back for a playoff series, and then be hurt for the rest of the have to get another surgery after having two
Career.
surgeries already. So you don't want that again. So you don't I don't it's scary. Like I say, knee surgeries are very like scary, but hopefully for him it's just he just had to have it. I feel like that's the thing for Bogey. Like Bogey, like somebody asked Bogey, like, you got your knee finally worked on. How long has it been hurting? He was like, oh, it's been hurting me for like 2-3 years. I'm like, what? Like, bro, you should have been had that surgery, but he just didn't want to have it. He finally, and I think that what happened was, and this not to get on the Hawks, but us getting DJ, I think that finally convinced him to be like, okay, I can finally like I don't have to, because at points he was, with Kev, sometimes Kev couldn't start and he was gonna have to start, and that kind of might have delayed it for him. So now I feel like he probably felt like it was just the perfect time to get it, and now he'll be healthy, and like he'll be really healthy, like he'll actually be able to be, pray your fingers crossed, because it's a hopefully it's the thing like with Gallo, like Gallo came back from one injury and then be hurt the next week, so you don't want that type of thing. So hopefully everybody's healthy. We pray for healthy Falcons. That's what I want. I want a healthy squad. We have nothing on our IR guys yet, and I don't know what's going on. So I don't know anything about Jalen. And the thing about it is Wilkinson is garbage. I just wanted to say that Wilkinson is absolutely garbage. Like he is might be our worst O lineman this year, and that's
Yeah.
and that's saying a lot because we went through McGarry last year and we were like, Jesus Christ, God, McGarry's horrible. And we was like, God, Mayfield's horrible. And we were like, okay. And then this year it's like, oh, well, McGarry's playing a lot better. Oh, well, the line looks a lot better. And then you just look at Wilkinson, he's just like the sore thumb. He's just like, man, like why? It's just like you're the piece that and it's so funny. Gossett played a way better game than him. Gossett played almost an immaculate game, and people took it. You can't take that for lightly. I trust Arthur with his O line. He's an O lineman himself. He knows who's gonna play and who needs to play. But man, you got to look at Wilkinson and be like, man, what are you doing? But so, like I say, a lot of his sacks though are on Mariota. I will say a lot of Wilkinson sacks are on Mariota because Wilkinson he doesn't get beat easy, but when he gets beat, it's ugly. Oh man, Dolman gets beat. Oh, it's ugly. It's some guys that get beat and you be like, God, this is horrible. But
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot to really evaluate with Mariota and just offensive linemen in general.
yeah, man. So for what's you go ahead and give your final topic? We're gonna kind of end it up here. So what's your final topics?
Well, I would just say that I'm extremely happy that we're just so ahead in the rebuild than where we thought we were going to be. There's a huge car, but I don't know.
It's not on mine. It doesn't sound bad on mine. Is it? It might be me or I don't know. Is it me or is it you?
I just hear me.
Oh, okay.
But I was going to say, like, we're still ahead of the rebuild right now. And this is, I guess, kind of gets into the Matt Ryan talk. Is that as sad as it is to get rid of Matt Ryan and seeing what's going on right now, I just never felt that there was going to be an end to this salary cap and eating it now and seeing this team do well and knowing that you have cap space coming next season, starting to build what you want, and you're going to be able to go next year and not have to shop at the dollar store for free agents. And you still got all your draft picks. That's exciting. There's nothing but hope. The first time in a long time I've really had hope for this franchise, and I'm just overly excited for the next couple years.
Yeah, man. And that goes to the title. Why is this the most exciting time in Atlanta? And I kind of touched on it, like, okay, the Hawks and the Falcons are playing, and we're back on our I don't know how to put, like, not even on our, I wouldn't even say pedestal, but like we're back on to sports in Atlanta, kind of sort of, because the Braves lost. So we don't have October baseball, but we still do we get to focus on the Falcons and the Hawks now. And last year we didn't kind of get the focus on them because we were watching the Braves. Everybody was watching the Braves. Like Hawks games was on, but the Braves playing, so we gonna watch the Braves. So it was a mix of a season kind of last year, and now this year we can all focus on what these teams are gonna do, and we can see these teams. And this is why it's so exciting to me, is that, like you said, if the cap we'll have next year, because you got to think we're going to have to sign Lindstrom, so that takes about what 20, maybe 15. We know AJ's going to be at least 20, because he's a top corner, so he's at least 20. But you still have probably close to 65, 70 million left, and rebuild wise, your draft class really isn't going to take but maybe 15 of that. Well, your first pick will take about 15. Everybody else will take about 10 combined. So
You
you're
have two
still
third-round picks.
yeah, and we have two third round picks. So we have a lot of things where we can go into next year's draft and just draft freely. I think next year's draft is a draft where we can kind of actually, this is our first draft where we can kind of just draft off talent, like the first year draft, because I feel like the first year draft we drafted talent, but we drafted in position talent, right? And so then we go into this year draft. It was a more position based draft where we got our deficiencies. This year, where we have cap and draft capital, we could kind of have a really fun draft. We could have a really fun draft where we could have some picks where people are like, "What are we doing?" Like, it's gonna be some picks this year. You're gonna be like, "That's kind of questionable," but it's all talent now because your rebuild. I say what you need somebody to go next to Grady, but you got Taquan Graham, and Taquan Graham has kind of performed to a point where it's not bad. Like, he's very serviceable next to Grady. So you go get a DN. Well, you just already attacked your two DNs with AK and D'Angelo Malone this year. So you kind of have built your squad up to last for years, and all your draft is now is just drafting their backups, kind of sorta. So it's where we're gonna start seeing a lot, and I'm kind of happy, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with what Terry has done. Terry has struck on so much. This tandem of Terry and Arthur have probably been our best head coach and GM together in a while. I would say in a long while. Maybe I'll say maybe Mike Smith and Dimitrov were their first couple of years were really good, but other than that, like Terry and Arthur haven't missed these first 2 years. They have not missed on a lot, and you go and get a guy in the third round that wants to be your franchise quarterback, and he's going to put in the work, and you have a vet in front of him. And Michael, you said something that it caught my eye, and you said Mariota's ceiling is Ritter's floor. And at this point in his career, I'll say that, yeah. But when Ritter's top can be, who I can see Ritter turning into, is the guy that plays in Kansas City. And if we get to that talent, and that's lightly. I take that lightly. That's hard to beat him. That's a once in a generation of lifetime talent. Like, you don't get Mahomes every day. He's nuts. He had to be made in the test tube the way he plays. So it's like when you see Ritter play and you're like, you gotta give him the time to develop. It took Mahomes a year. It's gonna take Ritter. It's probably gonna take Ritter all year. And the thing about it is, he's learning from a guy who's gonna that's willing to teach him. It's not like the Tennessee situation where Ryan Tannehill was like, "Oh, I don't have to teach Malik Willis anything." Like, it's not that type of situation. It's a situation where the guy that came in knows his role and he knows what he's here for. And when we drafted that quarterback, he knows his role and he knows what he's here for. And they know they know their purposes. So the thing is, letting it let it you gotta let it marinate. I put it like this: let it marinate, let him sit and learn. Let him watch games from the sideline. You gotta let Ritter. Ritter has never been a kid where he need to be the star, and that's one thing he doesn't need to be the star. He doesn't want to be the star. And that's the best thing about it. It's not like he came in here demanding like, oh, I gotta start. Like, nah. He came in, kept his head down, had a really good rookie camp, had a really good mini camp, had a really good training camp, had a really good preseason, he's having a really good time now in practice. He's just having a really good, his development track is on path to be a starter. And we have the opportunity next year to say, Mariota, thank you for the year you gave us, but it's time to let Ritter shine. And we have that opportunity next year. Now, if we do it, we don't know. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But we have to wait on it. You cannot rush it. A lot of people are trying to rush it. You cannot rush it at this point. So that's all I have to say. Anything else you want to add, Tommy?
I was just gonna
I was
say,
gonna say,
being
being
a
a
Cleveland person,
Cleveland
you could
person,
see
you
how
could see
many
how many
quarterbacks they were
quarterbacks
in
they
so
were in
much
so much
static.
static.
I can't. I don't hear from my side, but I think everybody keeps saying it is. Somebody said in the comment. So, but we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Thank you again, Tommy, for coming on. Shout out the dog. The dog came in. You go shout out the dog. Thank you everybody that came in here. Ant, Michael, Bubba, all of you guys that came in and said what's up. Um, hopefully, I guess we'll try to make this a weekly thing again. Hopefully, we talked about it last time we was on here. We gonna make it weekly, and we ended up not doing it. But hopefully, we are. Um, but yeah, we'll get into next week. Will be Chargers. It'll be the Chargers, and we'll have another week of uh Hawks basketball. So we can talk about. We'll have enough to talk about next Wednesday. And again, follow me on Twitter. Follow the Fila page on Twitter at Fila_SP. That's where we do most of our posting. Follow Tommy at Let's Go Ducks 96. He talks a lot. Look, you want to talk about soccer with Tommy. You want to talk about basketball with Tommy. You want to talk about football with Tommy. Go. You can. He knows all. He talks about all three. He's very knowledgeable in all three. Look, the soccer stuff that he knows. Don't ask me about it. Please don't come and ask me a soccer question. You got Ariel, you have Tommy. We gave you two sources. You got two sources. Go follow him on Twitter. Oh, what's up, Kale? I didn't know you was here. What's up, Kale? You got two sources. You got Tommy. You got Ariel. So make sure you talk to those guys about soccer. It's FIFA's coming up. No, the World Cup's coming up. So you got questions about that stuff. You go talk to those two about it. I'm Team Portugal. Ronaldo need that dub. Need that one this year. Need that World Cup this year. I don't know if we're gonna do it, but hopefully we hope and pray. Because
USA all the
all
way.
the way.
I have been a proud USA supporter through the what year was that? Oh my God, I was so happy we were gonna be so good, and then we lost to Germany. Wait, I can't even think of the year it was. Oh, I mean, everybody was a USA soccer fan that year, and then we lost to Germany, and everybody was like, "Well, back to being an international fan." That's kind of how it goes. I think it's a prove it year for the USA, and hopefully the young guys do it. Hopefully we be good. World Cup stuff is. I watch the World Cup minimally. I watch some games, but not all. I try to catch most of the teams I want to catch. Of course, Brazil. I'll always watch Brazil. I'll always watch Portugal, and I'll always watch America. So those are the main three. I try to always catch. So we'll see. I mean, we'll just throw that prediction. What's your prediction, Tommy? Who you think is gonna win the World Cup this year?
USA.
USA.
Mm. Did,
Probably
did, did
not, but
Miles
I'm just being happy.
did Miles make the team?
He's
He's
injured.
injured.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he did get hurt. Damn. So who did anybody? Did what's no? Because he's not even on the team anymore. He's overseas. Oh my God, that hurts. Well, you know, hopefully we. I wish I was like, dang, we'll have some United players to watch. But Guzan, yeah, because Guzan's hurt too. So we don't have nobody. So yeah, well, enjoy the World Cup if you can. If you watch soccer, please enjoy it. Sunday, like I say, Sunday, great game. We'll have a great game. Hopefully it's a win. Hopefully we win at home. And of course, thank you guys for always watching. Subscribe to Fila. Follow us on Twitter. Follow our personal accounts. My personal account is Call on Tyrone ATL. Like I said, Thomas is Let's Go Duck 96. And with that, we are out of here. Peace.